What's going on, everybody? JJ Wilson here, and we're going to continue on with the latest chapters for GANGSTA, the main story. This time I have chapter 46. So we're going to pick up where we left off with chapter 45, and once again, little to zero story progression. But let me go ahead and get started with the present time. So Beretta is pretty upset over the fact that Marco has pretty much changed himself as a person. So he's no longer an old spy that she once knew, and she's very, very fed up with this guy's defiance of not wanting to come back into their circle, you know, being a destroyer, being a Twilight killer. And so she's really upset about that. So she feels that he's no longer needed. Like, he's just, now she's looking like Marie, Maverick, you know, back in Gangsta Curse, where she pretty much told the same thing to the spies when he was declaring that, you know, what they were doing was wrong and he didn't want to kill Twilights anymore, and she got upset about that. Now you're starting to see that same parallel with Beretta, you know, because she was trying to get him back in there just like Striker was, but she's not as patient. Like, she doesn't really give a damn now. She's that upset over the fact that Marco Adrian just no longer wants to be a killer anymore. So she decided to chop his leg off and some of his fingers, and he's just lying there right now. He can't get back up. So we're still at that moment, and for the rest of the chapter, once again, it's just flashbacks. But the flashbacks here are more revealing because you get to see not only the flashbacks with Connie and Marco, but you also get to see the handyman. You know, we get to see their return, because after all, this main story was about them. And what they're talking about is the trial that spies, who we now know as Marco, is going through. And he's being taken to a special court case. Well, not just any court, but it's also the city jail, I believe this is, where the Gaston with all the different levels that you can kind of see in the background. And they're trying to talk about Marco's fate here, like what they're going to do with this kid now he's been arrested. And so, in a strange twist, Cristiano is proposing that, you know, he kind of get let go in a sense, you know, like he can be under close supervision by his team, his family. And Woricks is talking about this with Nick, and he thinks that's ridiculous. You know, there's no way this should happen. And also, Nick was saying that he's surprised that their boss, Daniel Monroe, was able to strike a deal with Gina Parkley about this situation too, to kind of bribe her to keep from having to, you know, take this kid into her own custody. So it's a lot of diplomacy going around about Marco in this particular moment. And funny enough, we get to see Cristiano going in the direction of the handyman. He even puts Woricks in a chokehold. He's nagging him. He's making fun of dude. I thought that was a nice little moment there. And Nick wisely avoids all that because he's not trying to mess with Luca. And we got Galahad down here. He's calling for Luca and also the handyman to come over because they're about to escort Marco, I guess, back to, I'm not sure where they're heading to. I'm thinking Club Bastard, Cristiano's place, but the point is they're taking him out of the jail now. So, but we get to see that later on. Marco, he's going to go back to the gun shop where he first met Connie. So Nick goes on ahead. He's following the car, and Galahad's going as well, and Cristiano's coming right behind them. But before that, you know, we get to have a little one-on-one with Woricks and Cristiano. And Woricks just telling his displeasure about this whole situation, and also the fact that, hey man, sooner or later, if you want to keep this kid Marco around, this kid spies, you know, you're probably gonna get rid of him just like a piece of trash, just like all the others that I've seen, all these other Twilights. You know, they may look like us, but they're deep down, they're monsters, man. They're not human. And the only thing Cristiano could do was smile, you know. Despite all that, he does view Twilights and Normals as the same. You know, he understands that Twilights have feelings just like the humans do. And he doesn't have this animosity towards them in the same manner as Woricks. And so that was a very stark difference when that conversation between, really it was just Woricks talking between Woricks and Cristiano. I just found that kind of fascinating. And so we're at the gun shop now in this chapter, and Joel Revo is hugging Connie because now she's pretty much lost everything dear to her at that moment, and Connie is really all she has now. And so she sees Marco up in the distance. That he went over there to check up on him, and she doesn't want to see him at all, naturally, because him and his team are the reason why she lost everything, just about. But Connie, being the good soul that she is, she stops her grandmother from yelling, and she gets off of her, and then she goes and approaches Marco, and she extends her hand and as a sign of solidarity, to make peace. And Spies couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe how calm and reserved Connie was at this particular situation, because naturally she should have been like her grandmother, but she's more willing to let go of the past despite what happened to them. And so now they holding hands and embraced for a little bit. And we go back to the present, and she's pretty much calling for Marco's name. And finally, by the end of this chapter, she's saying that even though I never apologized to you, and I'm not going to follow with what I stated to you back then, I have to put an end to all this. And we'll get to see what that means in the next chapter. I'm going to hold the suspense until that point. And tell me what you guys think about these latest revelations in chapter 46. And I'll see you all next time.